go, guys. First fish of the morning. Little blue shaky head. Good way to start the day. There we go. Aha! There's number two. Oh, he ain't hooked that good. Easy, buddy. Easy, 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 easy. See if I can get him in. Got him. Ah. Fell out. Number two for the morning. Chunky little bass. He's about the same size as the other one. Little shaky head on a little cream June bug worm. Pretty sure that's a June bug. We're just fishing the steeper banks this morning. Mainly just relaxing, enjoying this cooler weather. It's gonna get hot here in a little while, but for this morning, it is absolutely beautiful out here. That is number two of the day. I've lost a couple. But lost don't count. That's number two in the boat. I really wanted to fish this bank. It's a steeper bank than the other side. I really wanted to fish it first this morning. When I first got here, the fog was rolling off the water. But there was a couple more boats on this side, so I just kind of waited them out and ended up catching one on the other side in an area I thought really wasn't going to be very productive, and ended up with a fish, so you never know. But I looked at this area last night as I was getting ready to go on Google Earth, and it was a little steeper bank. It's a little area I wanted to fish, but evidently other people knew about it, and I've never been on this end of the lake bass fishing. This is the first time, so I'm just exploring, like one pocket and a point at a time, and I'll make a few notes. I'm in the grass again. That's good. Bass have been in the grass and the trees lately, and on the steeper bank they've been in the trees this morning. The bites I've had have been around standing trees. But I'm gonna have to got a little bit out of position catching that fish, so I'm gonna ease back toward the bank and throw parallel. I like fishing parallel anytime I get a chance up and down this particular bank, or any bank that I'm on, is it keeps my bait in the strike zone longer, which is always a good thing. There's number three, boys. Little shaky head in the grass. Slowly but surely doing the job. Fat little things, man. These things are healthy. Back you go. Man, that's a lot of fun. That fish hit hard too. My other bites, they've been kind of light. That one right there, he hit like he meant it. That's what you like. You like them to let you know they're there. Now I'm sitting in 14 feet of water, fishing in the grass, where the grass gets a little less than it was up there where it is so thick around the bank where it's been growing. I was still in the grass, but it just didn't feel as thick as before. But man, it must have came out into an open spot and got whacked. And of course, there's a lot of boats running around this morning. Every time I get positioned, one goes by and gets me out of position, so I'll have to just keep paddling and getting in place. Fishing on the upper end of the duck today. This is an area I've not been on. I have done a lot of fishing on the lower end around the dam down there. So all this is new. I'm looking at new water, and it's neat, but you know, your confidence level until you've been on an area a few times, not the greatest. I really thought I could come out here this morning, got a little wind on the water. I really thought I could get some spinnerbait fish biting. I bet I've made 30 or 40 casts in some prime spinnerbait looking locations, and it's just not happening for me. Shaky head on the bottom in the grass, that's been the bite. Tops of trees, they're still hanging in that cover, and it's like, man, I just pulled it. Maybe he'll come back. I just pulled it out of one's mouth while I was talking. Got myself a little bit out of shape from the wind and the waves that went by. But the shaky head has been getting the bites. The spinnerbait, not so much. I don't even think I've had one look at it. Not a flash, not a boil up, nothing. Let me turn back around here. I've been in anywhere from 8 to say 12, 13 feet of water when I got all my bites so far this morning. So they're not way up on the bank. They're in a little deeper water, but I just don't understand. I haven't even had a flash on that blade. So they're definitely, for me, this little blue spinnerbait, or this little blue shaky head on this June bug worm has been the producer. Well, guys, I took my shaky head off, even though it was getting bites, and went to a little Texas rig, same color worm, same worm, just on a Texas rig, to hopefully come through this grass a little easier and not get hung up quite so much. I'm getting hung up like every cast, ripping, bringing grass in, and getting bites. I know there's some fish in the area. I don't have a whole lot longer to stay. I wasn't planning on staying a long time this morning. Probably come back a little while tomorrow. But I seem to be on a little stretch here that I'm getting bites. If I can just get through this grass a little bit easier, I think I can pick another fish or two up. Something cool that I've noticed this morning while I've been sitting here, you can see I'm sitting right up in the weeds on the edge, and I've been hearing the bees, which some people never notice bees, but these are the regular honeybees getting in these little flowers, which is cool because honeybees, you're not seeing very many of them anymore, and I have seen a bunch of them, just little honeybees all in this one particular kind of flower this morning, and they're just buzzing, and they'll come by. They don't bother anything, they're just doing what they're supposed to do, and that's really neat to actually see honeybees. Man, I am in a tree. It ought to get bit right there. I feel it hit that limb. That's where you're supposed to get thumped. When you're tapping that limb up and down, and that weight's hitting it, making that little clacking down there, them bass supposed to come get that. And a lot of times they have been. Now I'm in the grass hung up. Man, the grass is awesome for holding fish and also holding hooks. But if you're willing to fish in the grass, if you're willing to fish in the conditions that aren't the best for us fishermen, the wind and the rain and the grass and the rocks, if you're willing to put up with all that, you're gonna catch some fish, because that stuff holds the bass. Good morning, guys. This is day 2 working on this video. I bailed yesterday when the sun came up and the bite died out a little bit, and yesterday I was fishing on the upper part of the lake. Today I'm back in my comfort zone a little bit down on the lower part of the lake, and already I can see a difference in what's going on out on the water this morning versus yesterday morning. This morning there's some shad beginning to school up. Didn't see any of that yesterday until almost time for me to leave. Around lunch I saw a couple schools of shad come up for just a few minutes, and then they were gone. This morning I've seen them around the lake, not really busting, but just working their way around. A little bit different activity on this end of the lake versus the other end of the lake. But I'm still throwing, I'm still basically set up like I was yesterday. Little small Texas rig worm on about a eighth ounce weight, I think. And lightweight drop shot rig, and a little heavier shaky head to when I want to get out a little deeper and want it to get down there a little faster. Just relaxing, trying to catch a bass and enjoy this cool weather. It's a little bit more overcast this morning than it was yesterday, and it's very pleasant out. Man, I fished in the heat for so long that man, this is like a vacation. This is awesome. Couldn't ask for a more perfect day. It's probably right around 70. The wind has laid down for a little bit, and it's just beautiful out here. If we can get us a little old bass in the boat, we'll be good to go. Easy, buddy, easy. Come up here. Got him. All right, boys and girls. He got away. That was my first bite of the morning. And on the little Texas rig, get it all lined back up here and I'll show you. This is just a small rig, lightweight, small worm, about a 6-inch worm, and it comes through this grass really well. And for those of you that have been on the Duck River, you know that it's been flooded or it's been low. Grass grew from the bank, so this is not your regular grass like your milfoil and your regular river grass. This is basically pasture grass, and we're fishing. There is just so much abundance of cover. And this little Texas rig is the best thing for pulling in, coming through that grass. If you're coming up off the bottom, if you're fishing for suspended fish, you're going to want to do something else. Maybe a rattle trap or a jerk bait or spinner bait, chatter bait, something like that. If you want to stay up off the bottom. But if you're bottom bouncing, you're going to be in the grass. And this little Texas rig worm for me is it's just a really neat way to fish. I love to fish it. That's the way I learned to fish. And when I decide to get out on the water and relax and just go junk fish or whatever, a lot of times I drag that Texas rig out and bounce it off the bottom. Well, this is a really good tool for working the edge of these grass lines, because it will come through that grass and not hang up on everything. And when it pops free of that grass, it's kind of like jerking a rattle trap in the grass at Wheeler or Gunnersville. When it breaks free, a lot of times that's when they grab it. And if you get it over a limb, a little bush, buckbrush, or some of this thicker grass, and you're working it back and forth, sometimes they're going to help you take it off of that grass. I've actually been stuck, been hung over a limb. I couldn't get my Texas rig off of there, and the fish pulled it off for me. So it's a really neat way to fish, old school as you can get, and it's a relaxing. It's very relaxed. Other than the waves that little fella in the boat just pushed me up a little bit, it is so relaxing out here today. Man, what a neat way to fish. There's a bite. And a miss. Oh my goodness. What was I thinking? There we go. What we got here? Man, oh, he came off. That was a good fish. Oh, that was a good fish. Man. Man. There's one. Where are you going? Ha ha. My goodness. An acrobat. Get on up in here, boy. Hey, 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 he's up. Got him. Man. That's a lot of fun. Let's see what we got here. Right in the top of the mouth where it's supposed to be. Oh, he's got my hook in my net though. Right, I'll get that out in a minute. Check him out, boys. Floating worm. Chew back. I saw a little activity around the weeds. They would not take my little Texas rig, but I kept seeing a little bit fresh activity. So I decided to get rid of that weight, get that worm off that bottom, and the result was a bass. Pretty good and fun. Floating worm is a lot of fun because a lot of times they'll hit it. They're so close to the surface, it's almost like a topwater. And a lot of times you're working it as a topwater. In this case, I wasn't quite. I was letting it stay submerged, dotting it around in the grass down there, and he got it. All right, guys, what I'm doing is I'm still paralleling the bank. I'm just working this floating worm along the outside edge of this big tall grass. Like I said, I got to noticing some activity close up in the grass, and wasn't having any luck with my little Texas rig. So I wanted something that would definitely stay above the grass and come through it easy. So I went with a floating worm, and it paid off pretty quick. Well, guys, like I do sometimes, I made my way back around over to the dam. That's where I like to make a few last casts up and down the rocks and try to pick up a little spot here and there before I go home. Didn't happen today, but it happens a lot more often than not. Anytime you got riprap involved, there's not too far away, there's usually a bass. But the past couple of days, I hadn't caught a ton of fish. I've caught quite a few, but I've had a really, really good time, and I've done a lot of searching and scoping out for places that I'm gonna probably want to come back and fish this winter that I didn't get to see before the lake filled up. Now that it's gone back down, I've got to look around, look at which points are just rock, which have trees, where the flats are, where the flats intersect with the points. I've got to see a lot of stuff that I didn't get to see before, so I've had a pretty good couple of days productive, whether I caught a lot of fish or not. Fish are beginning to school again. They quit for about a week or two. They had schooled up really good. Well, and I'm talking about on Duck River. Most of the guys that you'll know the background, you know where I've been fishing. I usually tell where I've been fishing. They schooled really well for several weeks, and then they just quit. Well, now they're beginning to go again. Noticing them in the middle of the day coming up, busting a few schools of shad here and there. So that's probably just going to increase over the next few days or weeks. Should be a lot of fun. Buzz bait, whopper plopper, pop-ars, old devil horse. That kind of stuff's going to get fun here as this weather cools off. The days are getting shorter, and it's going to be a blast out here. I hadn't been on Katoma in a while, so anybody knows anything really happening on Katoma? Are they schooling yet, or are they? I hadn't been, so I'm not sure what's going on over there. There's so much difference in this lake than Lake Katoma. It's a completely different fishery. You fish it a different way. I'm going to get over there before long. I hadn't been over there in a while, so it's time to get back over there on my home lake, and especially in the fall, and get some crankbait action going. Just have a good time over there as well. Anyway, I appreciate you guys that tune in every week. I appreciate the comments that I got last week on the fishing line. I will be trying some of the fishing line that was suggested. If you happen to not see that, and if you've got suggestions for a fluorocarbon line for me to try, I'd like to have it in the comments. I've only used a couple of brands over the years. I've not been a big fluoro person, but I'm getting back. I'm getting to where there's certain applications that I want to use it for all the time. So I'm looking for the right brand. Doesn't have to be the cheapest, just has to be trusted. If it's cheap, that's fine too. My mono that I use, as I discussed last week in one of my other videos, I use cheap mono because I change it so often. I'll change it if I'm tournament fishing, I always change it. If I'm regular fishing, a lot of times I change it every other time I go, so I'm not worried about it breaking. But fluoro, I'm looking for a brand that I can stick with for a while. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you hadn't hit that subscribe button yet, please do. It means the world to me, helps my channel grow, puts me in the YouTube algorithm, and gets me out to more people, which is my goal. And until next week, you guys stay safe on the water. Any comments, they're welcome. Share with your friends. Until next week, you guys stay safe, and I'll see you.